minutes, that's good.
Watch pot never boils, does it?
No, that's right.
Okay, we'll call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. The topic of our discussion tonight is a review of the current council roles and make recommendations, or to go through those council roles and make recommendations to full council on those changes. What my plan is just go through, everybody has copy of the marked up policy, and go through and discuss the changes and either accept and move on or not. The first thing to look at is not page one, the agenda, or the glossary is gonna change because the pages are gonna change and the rules are gonna change, so ignore that. Anybody have an issue with not changing rule one? Hearing none, moving to rule two, we're adding, to be eligible to be nominated, the elected president pro tem shall have a minimum of 2 years as a council member if council, on council, being nominated for the position. Comments? Then in the absence of the mayor and the president pro tem, the council shall appoint a temporary chairperson. Any issues with those changes?
I think that sounds good.
Rule 3 did not change. Rule 4, the assistant administrator is added to that.
That's good.
Rule 5 was just simply changing clerk to fiscal officer and some grammar corrections. Rule 6 just indicates they're the acting mayor. Then we went through and added the additional committees that we have since the council rules have been changed. And took out the economic development board, advisory board, since it's no longer.
The only one I didn't see on here was the planning and zoning board.
I think it's,
Homes-
The planning commission is different than
Yeah.
that.
that's right, it's not on there.
It's
Mhm.
under, it's on down under the, by ordinance,
Yeah.
statute or tradition, the following boards that are.
Oh, okay, all right, I'm sorry. You're right,
Same with Home District 1 and some of the other.
yeah, okay, that's good.
Good with Rule 6?
Yep.
Rule 7 essentially just some grammar corrections. Rule 8 we took out, so since it's probably no longer needed, that it's not a smoking facility. A little antiquated there. Added some things on the organizational meeting. I didn't know if it was the place to add, besides what's added here, which is at the beginning, is to add that at that point, each council member based on 10903 would be newly elected, well, elected term would be required to take public records law. I'm not sure if that's where we should put that or someplace else.
Maybe.
Because it's an organizational meeting, so
Right.
organize everything under that was my thought.
Yeah,
Bobby talks about these other trainings. We could have one rule that just handles the trainings, all the trainings. Sunshine law training, Ohio fraud and ethics training.
The fishing training's been a topic for a while that hasn't been
Right.
decided, so. I just thought since that was the organizational meeting that,
Well,
We could
yeah,
just simply
you
add
put
that
it, yeah, you could
rather
s-
than
put
create
it,
another
both
rule.
of them in there, yeah, with all the trainings that are supposed to be taken.
As we go down through all the rules, one thing that always drives me crazy is when you, and I'm not saying you, but when there's any reference to the Ohio Revised Code and it's not there and you have to stop and you think, okay, what does that say? Is there a way to add that in there?
I don't think you want the entire code in
Well,
council rules.
I get that too.
We can add the ones that are referenced, is that what you mean?
I think that's
That
a
would
good
be
idea.
better.
In the references
Yeah.
in the back,
I think that's a good.
Or
idea.
just a specific reference to the rule that you're talking about.
I guess appendixes are okay, I do not think they should be in the rule itself.
yeah,
That's gonna
it's gonna
become
make it
daunting.
really long.
So it's, okay, see, without looking at the revised code, I don't know how daunting that is, so.
Some of these sections, are pages long,
Yeah.
you know, if you include the whole thing, which is fine with me, I mean, we'd have, you know, instead of being this thick, the rules are gonna be this thick, but that's fine.
Sorry to bring
I mean,
that
it's,
up.
yeah, well, it's, kill a few more trees, but big deal.
I think it's a quick Google search, if you really wanna know, honestly, that's just my opinion. At least it's on there, you know where to
You can
look.
move on, that's fine.
I mean, Brad, I'm old school, so I probably will do that with my copy, just because I'd much rather just
Yeah.
refer to the back of the document than do the Google thing.
The other problem with that is if the law changes,
Yeah, law
unless
changes.
weekly we're gonna redo the council rules.
Mm-mm.
I mean, if it's a topic of need or issue, I think you should look at the current law and not depend on this being even 10 months old, heck, even 2 weeks old,
Mhm.
then it's not current law. I mean, the references are so simple to get to anymore. You know, there's nothing, I mean, it used to be you had to have LexisNexis or buy a
Go to the book.
Buy the books, yeah.
Now you can just do a search of 10907 and.
Yeah, well, sometimes even people that don't interpret those right.
We can move on, that's fine.
Attendance at regular meetings was, assistant administrator was added. And the meetings open to the public was modified. In Rule 9, any issues with the new Rule 9?
I've got a typo, I mean, I did this rule, but it's, I see a typo. On C, there's another C there, there's an extra C.
Yeah, because of your formatting, that's why. I'm just saying. These are gonna be retyped, so those kind of things are gonna be,
There's an extra B too.
yeah.
Oh, is there? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all of them are, except
Yeah.
the. Hearing none, moving on. Rule 7 remains good. Saying where's Rule 10? Not that I haven't roughed through this multiple times. Okay, Rule 10. This meeting agenda, I did have a discussion and email back and forth with Bobby. She didn't have any. The only issue she had, Bob had a shorter amount of time
Yeah, 20 hours instead of, she went 48 hours, I
Yeah.
think. Mhm.
Why isn't rule, did we move rule 10, mine's all Xed out. Did we miss another page?
Like on mine, it's beside rule 11 and running vertically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, record of proceedings.
It's very difficult to.
so let's come back to rule 10. Moving to rule 11, the council agenda. 10 and 11, how do we want to phrase those, since we've had some discussion about for item 10 and 11?
Unfinished business, is that?
Yeah,
Is that
so
what we,
Yeah,
the old business was unfinished business.
just put that in parentheses maybe, I don't know.
yeah, and then new.
That's good with everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Rule 12. Just had some things removed.
Is there somebody actually keeping track of time?
No, I do not do
'Cause I
that, but
don't,
evidently I'm gonna have to.
But
6 minutes are up. That's it.
I mean, that was the rule, so.
Yep.
depending on what we
No,
wanna
no,
do.
it
Yeah, it
was.
was, yeah.
It was, yeah.
We'll
It
get
was.
you a stopwatch.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that it really goes 6 minutes. It's just, even, Tom and I were talking, even during that zoning, changing of zoning discussion, those people weren't up there for 6 minutes. You know, they were,
That's a long time to be talking.
yeah, it is. Now, we have had a particular person that has property down the southern part of town
Mhm.
that has talked 6+ minutes, but doesn't happen very often. Good luck with that person, Kelly.
6 minutes. Same rules as everybody else.
Moving on the rest of the, most of the rest of it until you get down to the bottom of the page, what's marked 11. It's just changing fiscal officer and gender. Any issue with those 2 points at the bottom?
This, like, the way this is formatted, this, page 11 would be over here,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah.
it's because we made the changes, don't worry about that, it's gonna be retyped.
Yeah,
And we-
yeah, that's not. I think it sounds good.
Okay, everybody okay with Rule 12? Uh, 13, just some grammar. Very good with 13, 14. some clarification and some removal, clarification there.
I'm sorry. Second paragraph of Rule 13. The majority of all members elected shall be a quorum, but a less number may adjourn from day to day and compel the attendance of absent members in such manner. I don't understand that.
Now that you read it, I don't understand it
If we
either.
don't have a quorum, we can adjourn to another day so that those who were absent can attend. Is that what that means?
Yeah, if there's three or fewer members present, it's not a quorum, but the three can adjourn and to another
Right.
day.
Another
To
day.
another, so it's just not from day to day, it should say to another day.
Yeah,
To go back, okay.
Makes
That's
sense.
fine, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like,
Oh,
yeah,
to
change
another
the.
To another
word.
day, adjourn
Yeah.
to another day and compel
yeah.
the attendance. That makes it.
Mhm.
Makes
So we're taking
perfect
from out,
sense.
putting to.
From day to day and adding to another day.
Makes sense. Has something like that ever happened? And they had to wait until like the next meeting, or
Yeah, we did.
what did they do?
I
I
don't,
remember one time
is
in
that
like
right?
30, 40 plus years of
Okay.
council.
I was gonna say no.
It did, but, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but it still should.
It could happen.
Should still give them direction to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah, it could happen.
I'm actually surprised it didn't happen during COVID, but.
That's what I was
it
gonna say, did it happen during COVID?
didn't. No, it didn't. We always had a quorum during COVID,
Hmm.
but we also met from home too, so
Zoom,
that
yeah,
made
you
it
had
better.
your Zoom.
Yeah, in the courthouse, we had better attendance during COVID than we did
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are back to not showing up to court.
Mm. No.
Okay, Rule 14. Everybody okay with that? I think, since we have order and decorum there, Rule 15 does not exist, it's being addressed other places. So do we wanna put, the prohibition on voting in the event of conflict of interest?
In the order and decorum.
Yeah. Which is the handout, if anybody has any objections, you have any problem with doing that?
Mm-mm,
I
no.
think that's a good idea.
So are we doing, are we combining 14 and 15, or just doing away with 15? Or
15 is not,
just
15 is
out?
addressed other places
Okay,
now.
all right. So 15's out. Okay.
Everybody okay with conflict of interest?
Mm-hmm.
Comment?
Right.
Sorry. Rule 16, voting.
Yeah, so there are other reasons, the way the first sentence is phrased, all members shall cast a vote on a measure unless forced to abstain due to a conflict of interest. There are other reasons to abstain other than a conflict of interest. I think that whole rule needs to be replaced with the new one that I drafted today that I handed out about the abstention.
Oh, that's, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So I would just, you know, if people approve it, I would just say this 16 should be replaced by the 16 that I handed out tonight.
Yeah, but this says a 7-member council, and we don't have that.
Oh, okay, yeah, that should be changed to 6-member.
So that's, in the notes, that's all of that. It says 7-member council, 6 of 7 members, of 7 members elected, and we don't have a 7-member council.
Right, yeah, that needs to be changed.
Has that ever happened before? A member just was silent and didn't acknowledge one way or another?
They usually say abstain. I abstain from voting. We've had that happen before.
Yeah, but it says a member's silence during a roll call vote shall be recorded as not voting. Has that happened? Somebody just decided not to,
I don't think anybody's ever
Like
been
now-
I don't
silent
remember that ever happened. I mean, abstentions, yes, but I don't remember anybody just saying that.
and not
Saying
saying
anything.
anything.
So we'll get that amended on the 7 members to 6.
Right,
And, Bob, if you'll send it to me, then I'll get it out to the committee after looking at it. And we'll okay that,
Okay, that
if
sounds good.
that works for everybody.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
yep.
And I guess when it's part of the agenda for the council, and I don't expect this to be a next council meeting, only to have a clean draft made, I don't wanna
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
you have to do it in 3 days or whatever.
Well, we don't meet till July.
That's right, yeah, this starts the,
Yeah. So
we
it
might
may
be
be,
able to have it done.
Yeah,
We'll,
it may be.
we'll have it on the agenda if it's gonna be
if it's ready.
prepared, but
Mhm.
we wanna give ample time to have it put together. Rule 17, except for the fiscal officer, does not change. Same with 18.
so can I backtrack, just to ask a question? I don't have a problem with it, but is the presiding officer the only person that can question someone's vote? So if another member of council wants to know why you voted, you can just, you don't have to explain anything if it comes from,
Comes from whoever's presiding over the meeting.
yeah. 'Cause I thought I'd been asked before why I voted a certain way.
By the presiding officer.
I was thinking it wasn't, but it probably was. So if somebody else asks.
If
say,
somebody else
You're not
asks."
presiding officer, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can informally ask you afterwards, but as far as the meeting setting itself,
Okay,
the response comes from whoever's the presiding officer at that meeting.
okay.
Ordinances and resolution.
I'm sorry, can I go back to 18 because I don't know if mine is confused, but that whole last paragraph made 0 sense to me, and
What's,
in Rule 18, when it talks about the council act as a committee, the committee will be governed by the rules of the council, the committee will report its recommendations or findings to council. If the committee believes that, so council's the committee, council sends the rules to council, then the council will report the recommendations to council. It doesn't make any sense. Council will act as a committee, and then it says, the committee will be governed by the rules of council, yes. The committee will report its recommendations or findings to council. Well, council is the committee. And then it says, if the committee believes that further study or investigation is indicated, it may recommend to council that the matter be referred to a certain committee. So,
Like tonight, for instance, if everybody was present. Well, this basically is. a
Well, no
special
offense,
meeting.
like, you guys,
A special
Bob and I
meeting
do not
because
have what
it's
you guys are all
sponsored
looking
by-
at, we're not on the committee. Bob and I do not have in red what you guys are all looking at, changes made, we don't have that.
I mean,
So we're not really a council, because there's two of us sitting here that aren't on the committee.
no, I understand that, but council members being on a committee is different than the council acting as a committee, in my mind. Maybe I'm wrong.
It doesn't make sense to me either, Kelly, but
I don't,
there was another version of this rule that AI suggested that I thought made more sense, but this is our present rule. This hasn't been
it
changed.
just doesn't make any sense, and I don't,
Doesn't make sense, I know.
yeah,
I don't know when it would, I don't think it's ever been used, ever,
yeah.
to my knowledge.
I think it's just for a specific
Right.
situation, that's all that's discussed at that meeting.
So for example, when we did the strategic initiative and council was a committee,
Right.
would this apply then?
It was essentially, we call it a work session, but
But
actually
it was
a
a committee
Yeah.
that we only talked about the strategic initiative.
Right.
Then we took it back to council and talked about it in council.
And I will say, I compared, I don't know how many different council rules from other, and this is in those council rules, almost word for word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just, it was just odd to me, the wording of it. So, okay. Sorry.
Which didn't make a lot of sense to me either. but-
Yeah.
But it was in multiple, and a work session is essentially a committee of council.
Of council. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense to me as council as a whole, but that's another rule we're looking at.
Are we talking about the ordinances and resolutions now? Okay, so I did some deep dive investigation into motions. And it said that the ORC doesn't specifically require a motion to be on an agenda to be made. That is only in the event of a special meeting. Local council rules can state that motions can legally be made during a regular meeting that aren't present on the agenda. Now this says, a motion requires only one reading and must appear on the tentative agenda posted in advance of the meeting. So if this stays in here, then this would mean only things on the agenda can be brought forward. But that is not technically what the ORC says.
There are a lot of things that are
Yeah.
not consistent.
Right.
I mean, you can be more
I mean, we can,
restrictive.
yeah, we can require it to be on the agenda in here,
Mhm.
or we don't have to require, if it's not in the council rules, it's not in the ORC, then if someone brings a motion that's not on the agenda, we can act on that motion in council.
True, yeah. But you can also have it in the rules that
Yeah,
it
and
has
if it's
to
in
be.
the rules like it currently is, then if it's not on the agenda, it doesn't get brought.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
So can we clarify the motion that if it's not on the agenda, that we can make some exceptions to the rule?
Sure, I mean, you know, since it's not required by the ORC, you can take it completely out.
Is everybody's desire?
The only reason that I looked at that is because I think that being able to bring something to council and act on that business in that council meeting is more expedient than, you know, if we're talking about East Clinton Street and we talk about No Name, and council's fine with doing both, why do we need to wait until the next meeting when it's on the agenda? That was just my question. Like, I don't want us to get so stuck in the weeds on procedure that we don't get any business done.
The example comes to my mind is we get a request for a food truck Thursday night, or Thursday afternoon, I get an email for the following Saturday after the next council meeting.
It won't be on the agenda.
It wouldn't get on if we, potentially, unless,
And that's, I guess, what I was talking about,
Yeah.
outlining some normal things. Now, I think actually the Clinton and the No Name Street was a good thing to postpone because
absolutely.
Oh,
people
yeah.
heard it.
And then you could get
and
some
that was-
input.
That was a decision that should be pushed back.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
needs some thought and
Right,
right,
But it-
look
right,
at it.
but
right.
if the Lions Club is late asking because they're having a chicken barbecue, they wanna close Monroe Street for 4 hours.
Yeah,
Or Taylor's late asking about Thunder over Holmes
Right.
County closing streets.
right.
Then we need a way to be able to still conduct business that needs done, that, you know, we may get late or last minute or whatever. That's not that big of a deal. I agree with you, you know, the streets, sure, but
Not sure how you define that.
Well, I mean, there's obviously situations of, I mean, the purpose of government is safety and public, I mean, so if roads are getting, I mean, you've gotta be able to, the public needs to know that, transportate all that. But some things, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Is there a way to word it that it's at your, at the
At council's
governing
discretion?
body's discretion, that if there's a consensus that it's okay
I
to
agree.
move forward,
Yeah.
great, if
Well,
not, give it more
Well,
time.
should that be like a 3/4 vote?
Oh.
I would think so. I
That-
mean,
Yeah, whatever you want.
because that would be 5 out of 6.
Mhm.
So if 5 out of 6 think that we
Mhm.
should move forward with whatever
That
that
night.
is, yeah, I
You
mean,
Take a vote on that and then vote.
And take a
Vote.
vote on
take
accepting.
on a
Vote,
vote on
yeah.
accepting the motion
Take a vote
into
to
the
vote.
agenda,
Yeah,
and then, and then. vote on it.
Amending the agenda and then moving forward.
Yes, yeah,
It's not gonna happen often,
no,
but we wanna give us an avenue
to be able to
to
do
provide
it,
for that.
yeah,
You want me to add that?
yeah.
I'm not sure if we don't have Rule 20 and 21 sort of commingled here. Or at least my Rule 20 and 21. It's titled ordinances and resolutions, introduction, and then
Yeah. Go.
21 motions, resolutions, ordinances, changes. But my printed copy's a little different than mine.
Yeah,
Are you seeing what I'm saying?
Yeah.
21 states clear.
Seems to me it could be one rule.
Well,
clear down through voting procedure, is that what we're looking at?
I guess 20 is the introduction. And 21 is motions. Yeah,
21 is
never mind.
motions.
Yeah.
Did highlight this, this does say the proper way to vote is aye, nay, or abstain. That was interesting.
The other thing that we don't do that's in here is that you don't, I mean, we've done this from the beginning of time, except that whenever I ran the meeting, whenever I wouldn't do it that way and people freaked out. Whoever makes the motion votes first. That's not the way it's written in here, and it never has been actually, but it goes different every meeting,
Yeah, I saw that.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But that was, so whenever I ran the meeting, I just went down the line, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, no, you can't do that, you have to,
Yeah.
okay?
Mix it up.
I thought it was just a random calling of the vote.
Mm-mm, it says you change it every meeting,
Yeah, it says it in the.
Yeah, it does say.
it's the way it's written in there.
But if you change it every vote, isn't that,
If it's
Accomplish
changed every
that.
vote, then it would be changed every meeting.
Mm. I don't know about that. I think it's anticipated that whatever the vote is at the beginning of the meeting, that's the way the vote's called for the entire meeting.
whole
That's the way I read the rule, and that changes every meeting.
Yeah. So like, you start with Bob one time and start with Andrew another time, that's,
Mhm.
you would continue doing it that way throughout the entirety of that meeting. And then the next time you switch
yeah, that certainly isn't how I've ever read that. I always thought you just had it randomly, and if,
random, that's the way we've always done it, as long as I've been on here, is
because
random.
not always do you have somebody make every motion and second the same,
The
so it's
same.
always gonna be,
Mhm.
Different.
You can do it any way you want to, but I'm just saying that's the way I read the rule.
which rule said?
I don't know. Whatever it is.
It was in,
Where? Oh, you
I'm
didn't
not, I'm not
find it?
even
Oh.
looking at it, it's just that, it just popped in my head.
Yeah, and I've read it, but I don't know where that.
I read it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I don't
read it
remember
too.
where it was too. Okay.
Okay, so we'll go in and order. Unless we find it as we continue through here.
Yeah.
Yeah, also. Page 20 has reference to the motion being required to be on the agenda as well.
Roll call names shall be rotated from time to time, so the first person to vote changes at each regular meeting. Is that what you're?
Right.
I read that too.
What is that?
That's in Rule 16.
Hmm.
The clerk shall
The
determine
order,
the
yeah.
rotation. Current. Current Rule 16.
Yeah, even on the new paper, it says the clerk fiscal officer shall maintain and implement the rotation. This just says the order of roll call shall be rotated periodically so that the first voting member changes at each regular meeting.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the way both the old version and the new version read too.
Oh, why?
I mean, I read that as even,
Well, I think it could be,
So you aren't setting, you're avoiding,
it looking like
If you
maybe some
know
people are all voting the
these two
same
are
way
always
as the
gonna
first
say
person who
yes
did
or
the thing.
something.
yeah.
That's exactly what
Is that
that's
it?
all about.
I would guess.
That's exactly what that's all about.
but yeah, we've never had a problem with multiple people making the motion or second. It's always been
Different all over the place.
across the board.
But if the rules, I mean, So the rule was in this one and didn't get followed, right?
No, it did.
In the,
No.
No, it didn't.
This
No, it
is
didn't.
same, this is the same.
it was not
rule.
getting followed.
The same rule as we have now. It's never
It's not
been
getting followed.
I think it is though.
Well,
by-
I think it
by
is
people
too.
making motions,
Yeah, because it's never the same order.
yeah,
She does it in different order, but she starts with the people who make the motion,
the motion and the second are the
Yeah.
first two. and
are the
then
first two, and then she does it one way and then another
it's
way.
Up and down.
Yeah.
It said, no. It says, the order of the roll call shall be rotated periodically so that the first voting member, whoever that is, they don't have to be the person that made the motion. That's the way we do it now. The first voting member rotates. So the way we do it now, the person who makes the motion votes first. That's not what this rule
Yeah.
says.
And historically, that's how it's always been done, even.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that,
Yeah.
but we've never followed the rule
Yeah.
that we've had from the word.
But it
go.
also says the fiscal officer shall maintain and implement the rotation.
So what does, I'm not a Robert's Rules of Order expert, what does it say
Probably didn't
about,
say anything because Robert's rules are so generic.
what's the proper?
I mean, I have
if
a
somebody
cheat
makes a
sheet of it.
motion and a-
What would,
Yeah.
what's that? Yeah, here's a cheat sheet.
Yeah,
I find it
don't know.
quicker.
Yeah, I don't.
But
count
it's
that.
not, it's hard to follow that too. What would it be under? You want me to,
Yeah, it means you
So
look at
what-
yours and I'll look at mine.
what would it be under?
Voting,
voting?
under voting, yeah.
So do we want to
So-
keep it the way it
so-
is, or do we want to follow the interpretation of this rule?
It's not an interpretation, Tom, that's the way it reads.
I want to follow the way it reads. That's my whole reason
We're
about all
we're
this.
changing rules, though.
It's not, it's the rule you have.
I said, we're here to change rules. If we want to change rules, that's what this meeting is all about. So do we want to keep the way we're doing it, or do we want to follow this, which is the rule?
So Bob, you're researching that, right?
Yeah,
So
just see
whatever.
if it may, Robert's rules is not real specific on a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. Let me see here.
Well, he's looking at that, do we want to move on to Rule 22? Which has essentially not been changed. Except for D council.
Robert's rules state names are called in alphabetical order and the chair is called last if they have a vote. The chair states the question and directs the clerk or secretary. The clerk will now call the roll. As your name is called, please answer aye or nay, or present if you're abstaining. The names are called in alphabetical order and the chair is called last. If they have a vote,
That
that's
doesn't
what
seem
Robert's
fair.
rules state.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be that every time.
Hmm.
I mean, does anybody have a problem with the way we've been doing it, if that was the rule, that the motion and second?
So basically, the person can make the motion, doesn't have to be the person who then is the,
The first
First
person, that's right.
But that's how we've done it. Do we want to do it differently, or do we want to do it the way we've been doing it? Whether it was right or wrong.
well, this,
I don't care.
as a solicitor, I think that there has to be, about how you always did it, is half my beef as to how we've done things. So as a solicitor, why do you anticipate that would be the reason that the person who makes the motion isn't necessarily the person then who makes the first vote?
The reason I think it was done that way is because it was easier for Karen to call the roll that way, because the person who made the motion voted first.
Right,
and
why
the
do
person
you
who
think
seconded. Just
that-
because I think Karen,
That's how she
Was the-
randomly,
Right, no, my
Karen was
question
the
is
clerk
if,
forever.
how it's supposed to be though, why do you think the reason it's supposed to be is
Oh.
that way, not the reason why it adapted to
Oh.
the way it did? There's gotta be a good reason, if that's the rule.
we'd have to look at that historically.
well, okay, I mean, I can only guess. So the person who makes the motion is likely to vote yes. The person who
Sure.
seconds the
Or vote
motion is
no.
likely to vote yes. So you have 2 votes yes already. So, I don't know, maybe the other people were more likely to vote yes. I don't know.
That's what I
I know Rick Morrison told me, he used to be on village council. If he was opposed to something, he would make a motion and then he'd vote no. He'd
Which
be the
is
first one to vote, he'd
What
vote
you're
no.
supposed to do, you're
Yeah.
supposed to put it up for a vote and then vote.
And then
Yeah.
vote.
But he's right,
One
that's
way or
not what
another.
usually the person who's making the motion is gonna vote yes.
Mm.
I think
The
there's
person
an
who
assumption
seconds
that
it
a
is gonna
motion
vote
is
yes.
An endorsement of, it's not, it's just putting it out.
It's essentially call the vote.
Yeah.
A motion is essentially call the vote.
Right.
And in the realm of rules, does it matter who Bobby chooses to pick first and last?
Karen always used to rotate calling.
No,
She never,
Karen used to always call the first and the
well,
second,
yeah, but
and then rotate, but
Yeah.
she double rotated.
Bobby
it's like-
does it. She always starts with me after the first and second, you
She
know.
double rotated, is what she told me.
But
She rotated because you were rotating on who made the first and
You
the
mean-
second,
you-
and then you're rotating the order
like,
as
you're
well.
talking about Karen.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So it could be the person who makes the motion votes, the second, but then it doesn't always have to be,
No,
and I think that ought to be rotated.
Karen did.
yeah.
I think that ought to be rotated.
Committee recommendation.
I don't care, this is not a hill to die on for me.
Yeah.
I don't care.
it's fine the way it is.
Yeah, we can leave it the way it is.
Is it gonna change anybody's
No.
vote?
Probably not.
I would
No.
hope not.
I would hope not.
I would hope you'd have to
If it's easier
act on
for
the vote the way
Bobby
you
to
feel
do it,
or believe,
Yeah.
just leave it.
Doesn't matter.
regardless of what
Yeah.
order it is.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if you really wanna vote no on something,
yeah.
I vote no.
I just can't
on
imagine that I'd say I'd make a motion to accept the treasurer's report, and then you go around and take a vote, and I say, nay.
Well, it wouldn't be that, it'd be something a lot more controversial
It could
than,
be.
than
It could be.
well, it might be, you're
That's
right.
the point, Andy.
Might be not paying the bills.
Points to vote.
That's the point.
It's just
It
calling
doesn't
for
matter
vote.
what the vote is, it's, the rule says. So let's make the rule what makes
Yeah.
sense.
I didn't bring that up to cause a debate. I brought it up to just say, we haven't been following that
Sure.
rule forever,
Yeah.
since I've
There's
been
a
here
lot
for
of
20
rules.
years.
Yeah, there's a lot that I've been following.
Okay,
It hasn't caused.
we're
any
randomly
No,
gonna
no,
take
no.
up, we're randomly gonna poll the committee here. Do you wanna keep the way we're doing it, or go by the rule that's in place?
I think change the rule to what we've been doing, because that's what everybody's familiar with.
I agree. Change it to what we've been doing. It's easier for
Doesn't matter.
Bobby.
It really doesn't matter.
That's an abstention,
Abstain.
Mm.
or no
I don't
vote.
care.
Or a no vote.
Okay,
Right.
so we're changing rule C of the voting, cause you've gotta modify that anyhow,
All right,
of the new voting to reflect the way that we have done it for probably
Right.
the last 40 years.
right.
On to rule 22. All the things I thought we'd debate about, that's not one of them.
That is
Like I
not,
said,
that is
I
not
did
one
not
I
bring that
thought
up
would
for a
be.
big debate, I just.
Yeah, that is not. My hill to die on.
Mm.
23, again, 24, 3 readings, 25, suspension, some clerical things in 25, obviously. 26, we took out the first sentence. Okay with 26,
Mhm.
27, 28, 29, and 30 were not changed. Thirty-one is amendments, has been added, modified.
Are we to 32 yet?
We're on, 31.
Okay. 32 might spurn some debate.
Thirty-one or 32?
32.
Any issues?
Oh, and this, did you change it?
Did I change what?
Oh, I thought I had submitted another version of 32. This looks like what we have, pretty much what we have now, isn't it?
This is
No.
different
It's
than what we
all,
have now.
it's all underlined in red, which means it's.
Yeah, right. Is this what I submitted to you? It's not looking familiar to me.
I didn't write all that.
Oh, yeah, this is what I gave you.
Wait, shh.
We're not there yet, Bob.
Oh, okay, all right.
Everybody good with 31?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, on to 32. It reads, attendance requirement, no member of council shall have more than 3 unexcused absences per calendar year. Notification requirement, elected officials must notify either the mayor or fiscal officer before the council meeting if they anticipate being absent. The notification should include a general reason for the absence. The mayor or fiscal officer will communicate the reason for the absence to council members present at the meeting. Exception for excused absences, a member who needs to be absent beyond the 3 meeting limit stated above may have the absence excused upon showing good cause. If when the council person's name is called during the roll call, a majority of the members present at the meeting vote to excuse the absence finding good cause.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think that's good.
Do you think that was gonna be the one that was gonna be contentious?
Yeah, because it's a little stricter than what we have now. I mean,
Well, I always thought that if you're not here, that there should be some kind of notification for it.
now you have to say good, it has to be for good cause. It can't be
You know,
because, well, there was somebody who used to play golf and he'd have his golf league, so he wouldn't show up for council.
it should
Like,
be,
whether or not that's a good cause, I don't know.
I don't think so.
But there is an issue with saying someone's on vacation. I think that, you're telling everybody that Matt's on vacation.
That's true,
Yeah,
that you're
go and burglarize
gone.
my
Yeah.
house, yeah.
Yeah,
I tried to tell the council members before council why, like in November when you were on vacation, I let everybody know before council and then I just asked for you to be excused so that the general public doesn't know that you're on vacation. I prefer that because I don't think it's anybody's business
I agree.
why you're not here,
Mhm.
whether you're
I agree.
ill or whether you're on vacation or what's going on. I don't think that's their business.
Or if you're away from home for work.
Right, right,
Because then your spouse is home alone, in my case,
yeah,
it's a
Yeah.
female and.
Yeah.
right.
it's-
I think the way you approach it
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
fine, let
Yeah.
people know before the meeting. And
Yeah.
they're not gonna divulge that,
Yeah.
it's not divulged during the
Yeah.
meeting,
I just, that's
but
nobody's business.
yeah.
And if somebody has an
Yeah.
objection for the reason, they can vote no.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
And I think it's up to you. You guys gotta read the cue that if she asks for excused versus unexcused, you'll know.
Oh, yeah, if you say.
Like if some,
excused
like
or
if, like
unexcused.
if somebody's not here and they didn't call
Yeah,
Bobby and didn't
That's
call me,
unexcused.
then,
We know
yeah.
the cue is,
And I think if it's, a severe issue, a death in the family that you just simply didn't, I think you can go back at the next
oh,
meeting.
absolutely,
and
and then
excuse
excuse that
Or
person,
if you're hospitalized or.
Right.
or something.
absolutely.
An emergency.
In some kind of
Yeah.
emergency, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that.
yeah.
Having been in
easy
the
peasy.
hospital as a councilman
Right,
and never wanted to go through that again.
yeah.
So there could be, this is probably obvious, but you could have 13 excused absences and be perfectly fine. the unexcused absences that matter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think at some point, if I'm asking to be excused for work,
Sure,
I'm asked to be excused for work, then,
Or for
you know, at
golf
some
league,
point, you've gotta
yeah.
figure out, you know, can you dedicate time to council or,
Mhm.
Just
I
like
think
we
at that
have-
point, council can call it into question whether
to
or not.
Bob's point, good cause, if that
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever Junior
Passes
goes.
You know, Bob, I'm thinking of you as we're talking about this because as you were going through your treatments and everything.
Yeah, we all knew he was
If,
going.
Yeah.
if you would've called in and said, hey, I'm not feeling well, I think we all get the message
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
understand that.
She-
and that's
Yeah.
She'd
in
tell
our
me.
minds
Yeah.
excused.
Well, I gotta refer to, Junior,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
Junior,
with his
he,
cancer.
he
and
was gone a
he
lot,
was gone
and
how
we all
many
knew.
meetings? And we knew.
And we all knew, and we all excused him, it was not a big deal.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then he would bug Nate on days that he felt good.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on to, Rule 33.
I have a problem with A1, where it says, a reasonable method for any person to determine the time and place of all regularly scheduled meetings. So when you go back to look at the intent of this law, it meant the public body must create a method so the public can find out when and where the meetings are. It was a method for learning about the meetings. It doesn't just allow any person to set the time and place. So I think it should say a reasonable method for the public body to determine the time and place, not any person.
No, it's
Is that-
directed to the person,
yeah.
So
Joe Blow,
anybody
He
can
wants to
figure
know
out
about
when
the
the meeting
meeting.
right?
It's the person who
Oh,
wants
for
to know
them to
about.
figure out when
Yeah.
the
When the
meeting,
meeting is.
okay,
Not to set the
okay.
meeting, but I can figure
Okay.
out when the meeting is.
When the meeting is, okay, because I was
Reasonable
like,
amount.
we can't just have what people willy-nilly want to
Yeah.
come in and set meetings for us.
And
So-
Yeah.
I can see how you'd read it. that
Yeah, I
way.
was like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa.
For them to discern. what-
Discern when the
I mean, they
meetings
have to
are.
be able to enough ways to know for them to find out if they don't
Yeah.
have radio or they don't, I mean, you gotta give enough opportunities for,
Yeah,
for somebody that's not living in a cave. I guess.
okay, never mind, I'm good with Rule 33.
34, executive session. I don't know if we want to put anything, Mayor or Solicitor Hines, in, do we want to make an amendment or an appendix to what is read at the council meeting in this rule or not?
Well, I
mean,
don't know that it needs to be an appendix, but it definitely.
Shall be
the
supplied to the-
presiding officer.
Yes, it
Presiding
should be
officer.
supplied to the presiding officer,
Yeah.
so that I don't get nailed every
Yeah,
day.
because some of those cases are decided on the fact that the presiding officer didn't use the right language in calling the
So do we call that-
session.
What do you call that? A current notice, a current
Mm.
procedure, a current
Could we add it like,
announcement?
an A or a 1 underneath here, and then just put verbiage to be used by the presiding officer for each, and then list?
Well, except that it's, boy, it's, a lot of it is very verbose. It's very verbose. It's a little bit, you know, like when Brad was talking about the sections. Some of these court of appeals, man, they want you to go into a lot of detail on why you go into executive session. Now, that's the thing, it's a court of appeals decision, it's not a Supreme Court, so it's not
So it's
state
not
law.
state law.
But you never know, you know, like the 5th district, which is what we're in, might say, oh, well, I thought that what the 12th district said was really good law, so I think we're about that. And then, you know, that's the one that, you know, it's like 3 pages of reading. It's whatever you want. Basically,
prefer
what
to
I would
have
say, Kelly, is
something-
that anytime you're gonna call an executive session, you should tell me, you know, what it's about, and then I can try to do some homework as far as what you should say when you go into executive session. The personnel is the worst one. because you have to be very specific
Yeah,
about
you
personnel.
can't list everything in there, you have to say why,
Yeah.
the reason,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So are we putting anything in the rule, or are we just knowing that you'll communicate when
I'll
there's a?
just communicate with Bob and.
I could, put- you know, I started
I
out
mean-
putting it in the rule, but then Tom said, nah, it's, no.
Cause it may
It's too
add
much.
so much,
Oh,
yeah,
Well, and again, you're gonna be in the same boat. If something changes
yeah,
Mm.
in
Then-
a rule,
yeah, then our rules are,
right,
yeah.
So how are you defining, like in our rules now, where it says all members of council have a fiduciary duty to keep confidential all matters discussed in executive session? Those are defined by federal and state law. You got your federal law, you got health insurance and accountability, HIPAA, you've got stuff for school, Social Security Act, trade secrets, attorney-client privilege communications, legal advice in the village, so that's legal advice in the village solicitor, health information.
Yeah, I would say if those things come up, you know, and if Kelly says, oh, we have a social security issue or something, that, you know, she lets me know, and then I would specify, you know, and I would tell her to say, has to do with social security law.
But confidential matters are defined by federal law and state law.
Yeah, I know, and I read, you know, what you had written, I know what you're talking about, but I think that's too much to put in the rule, it's too specific.
Well, I think just saying confidential matters is.
It
too
says to
open.
keep confidential all matters
Yeah, well, matters needs to be defined.
that is discussed in
anything in
executive
executive
session.
session.
So anything in executive session,
Well, there's some things you can't talk about in executive session.
right?
right, but if
And
if
some
we're allowed
things
to
we
talk
can't
about
go
it-
And
to
so what
executive
happens is,
session
if
for.
that starts, the door gets opened up and we come back out of executive session.
Well, that's when I've been shutting it down.
Yeah, I mean, we might start a topic, but it gets shut down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Or the door's
I
gonna
mean,
yeah.
it's,
I've been shutting it
and I
down.
don't think we've had any time that that's been deliberate. It's just, we're here and we say, we think it's
We're
something.
talking about
we-
something and something comes up
Yeah.
and then, yeah,
Yeah,
just
we
need to
stop
shut
it
it
and
down.
move on. Okay, you okay with Rule 34?
Yeah.
35, the appendixes.
Didn't I put something in here about
Yeah, that's
explaining
the one
the consequences for
deleted.
breaching confidentiality?
About conflict.
Didn't I, no?
Delinquency,
Not that I saw.
We just talked about it.
Gave, gives the ORC reference. Okay.
Yeah.
What's ORC 10203?
That's not it, I've got it here. You want-
That's the Ohio Revised Code about executive session.
It doesn't say what the consequences are. Oh, that, okay. Measure expel is deemed, okay, what's 731.45? 731.45.
We're deleting that
Yeah.
We're not doing any of this.
because it's addressed later, where we talk about an excused absences.
But we didn't talk about any of this.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So I'm looking at Rule 15, Tom. And I know that we talked about unexcused absences, but the bottom part about intimidation, coercing, we didn't address that anywhere. Are we keeping that in Rule 15? No, it's gone, all of it?
Well, the solicitor thought that you couldn't do that.
Okay, okay.
Is that
So
not-
we're not going to
I
define
didn't hear the
what
question, I'm
disorderly
sorry.
conduct is.
Which rule are we talking about?
15.
15.
Oh,
This.
yeah, here's the thing on 15.
Yeah, that,
There's only one, oh yeah,
just that.
there's only one Court of Appeals case that's been decided about, having to do with 7/31/45.
Okay,
And that Court of Appeals case says that you can't discipline a council member for something that doesn't happen during a council meeting.
okay,
So it's disorderly conduct within a meeting.
within a meeting, so it's all confined to a meeting.
That's not the way the rule, or that's not the way the statute reads, but that's the way it's been interpreted by the one and only Court of
By the only
Appeals.
court, okay,
Yeah,
okay, all right,
that was the 6th district, which is the Toledo area.
okay.
And I'm surprised there haven't been more Court of Appeals decisions, but
Watching a few council members from outside the community, yeah, I can.
Okay.
Any issues with if somebody comes in and the procedure for getting the form to the, and having those forms available?
No, I think that that's good. It gives
Which I
us
don't
ideas.
see. Well, I don't know that it's changed from the form that we're currently using.
Right,
Yeah, there it is, so, it's right after the rule. You find 10?
I did, but then I got distracted. Yeah, 10, this one.
Is that all that's left of that rule?
Yeah, just that right there.
Okay, I thought there was more to it.
Mhm.
okay.
So back to Rule 10, which is the last.
I thought I put in here the, on confidentiality of executive session. I know I drafted it, but I evidently didn't send it to Tom. But it's actually a first-degree misdemeanor, which I didn't even realize that until I researched it.
That's why it's very important that it's very clear as to what's confidential, and
What's that?
that's why it's very important that it's defined.
Mhm.
But if it's discussed
If
in
it's an executive
executive
session.
session, it's
Yeah.
off limits
Mhm.
until it comes out. I
But,
mean, if we go into executive session, we decide we're gonna buy the brewery, and we come out of executive session and vote on it, then confidentiality's lost, but until we decide to buy the brewery or take official action, you can't talk about it.
Right,
my point is, if we don't follow what's supposed to be done in executive session, unless it gets nipped,
What do we
whose,
not
whose
follow?
responsibility is that? That's
yours.
mine,
I'm trusting you.
yeah.
Okay.
What aren't we following?
I've been shutting down excessive
Yeah.
You know
talk
what,
that,
there's been times in executive
Yeah.
session that we deviate.
Yeah.
It's hard not to sometimes.
yeah,
And I think it's up to each one of us to say, look, I'm
Yeah.
not here
I
to
think we
discuss
do.
that.
right.
I mean, it's,
But in the past, I'm saying, there's been times and it's like, okay, we don't need to go there, that's not why we're here, and,
Right.
No,
And
but
it gets
that's
shut
what I
down.
wanna make clear,
yeah.
that it gets shut down.
But
Yeah.
still, if it's being discussed, in my mind, it's still an executive session and it shouldn't be, publicized or brought to anybody's attention if anybody asks.
So they're not allowed to do that.
Well, I'm
I
not
know,
gonna pick
I'm
and
just
choose
saying,
what,
I understand, but,
I determine in my own mind what's, confidential that's discussed in the executive session. Everything in executive session is confidential.
I've got a little problem with the Rule 34. That last sentence, if any council member violates his duty, this duty, he shall either be punished or expelled as deemed appropriate by council consistent. Yeah, see, it's actually, it's a first-degree misdemeanor, which is that's not anything that council does. That's a crime that court would do. That's not,
well, they could be expelled.
they could, but the way that's phrased there, it makes it sound like that's all that they could happen to them, and that's not true. It could be a first-degree
So it should be
misdemeanor.
punished, comma,
think
expelled,
that's a good
comma,
point.
or charged with a first-degree misdemeanor.
Yeah,
Right.
God, I thought I wrote that. Okay. It's probably in my notes back home.
Okay, so we're gonna add,
In fact, I know I have that someplace, Tom.
That's
And
the
it's a
same,
lot more extensive than this. Goes into a lot more detail.
that's the same code as for delinquency.
Yeah, it is, and I don't think that's even. the right-
73145 is
Yeah,
the
I don't-
same.
Yeah. I don't even think that's the right section number to refer to. I would like to rework this whole 34, at least the bottom part of it here.
yeah, do the last
Okay.
paragraph and
Yeah,
clarify that.
yeah. I can send that out to everybody. I mean, I already have it already drafted. It's just a matter of finding it and sending it to you.
Okay, so the things I have is in Rule 8, we're gonna add the training that members are required to have.
Okay.
There's some typo stuff. We're gonna change in Rule 11 from old business to unfinished business.
Mhm.
Rule 15 is removed. Rule 16 is replaced with the addition that Bob gave.
Mhm.
So, the motion, we're gonna
21.
make a change for the motion,
Mhm.
that does not require to be on agenda.
Right.
With 3/4 the vote, is that how we want that?
Yeah.
So we have to make a motion, if we're gonna do a motion, then we'll do a motion. If it passes by 3/4.
Right.
On Rule 34, we're gonna add the reference to the penalty for violating and confirm that that's the section
Mhm.
law,
Mhm.
and that was it. Anybody else have anything that I missed that we would change?
Sounds good.
On page 4. Assistant?
Oh, but that was in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that, everybody had that. We had the assistant administrator, everybody was okay with that for me.
It is the type assistant.
Oh. Yeah, staff here will fix. Got a little crazy with the S's there.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the process will be, Bob will get the changes out, I will get them amended into the, to this. I will get them out to everybody. If we miss anything, let me know, and we'll probably plan on the July meeting, if at all possible, and I'll leave that up to Nate to see when staff can get this put together for us.
Yeah, can you send me notes? I don't have everything here.
I'm gonna wait till he gets.
It'll be whatever I send to him.
Right.
I'll modify that, then I'll get you a clean,
Yeah,
well, it won't be a clean copy, it'll be a marked up
but
copy.
marked up is fine,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, here's just one thing that I would suggest, but, and Tom evidently didn't like it, because I had on the right-hand side the page number.
Can't change the formats of things you're sending, Bob.
Well, no, I mean, I know that,
Well,
that page numbers are
this
gonna
is-
change.
Yeah, this whole thing's gonna change, we're
Yeah.
gonna use this,
But, so you were gonna have the page numbers? The only reason I say that is
Yeah.
because all the times when I'm looking at the present council rules, it's like, man, I wish I had page numbers, which we don't have page numbers.
I didn't
They're
want them to
just
think they could open this up
Oh, okay.
and look at
All right,
this at
okay.
page,
Yeah.
and you're gonna say, well,
All right,
that's
so you
not-
didn't,
That's not where
I thought you
that's
just said, we don't need page numbers.
No, I knew they weren't a good reference point, and I didn't
Right.
want people to.
Yeah, oh, I get that, cause the
Yeah.
page numbers are gonna change, yeah.
I tried to change it, but your formatting was so much different than the other one, that I just said, we'll worry about it later.
I'm gonna fire my secretary soon.
So, yeah, page numbers will be added, because it's gonna, I mean, by the time you take all this stuff out that's been removed, they'll have, actually, it'll be a final draft in their hands before they even know what the page numbers are. Okay, anything else?
I've got a question. What constitutes a conflict of interest? And I'm referring to the triplex.
I'm not sure that this is
I mean,
a
can I
proper
get an
setting to
answer?
talk about that. I'll defer to one of you.
That's
two.
a Bob question.
I mean, if it goes back to planning and zoning,
Wait,
okay,
I mean, that's not the reason for the meeting, is what I'm
right, I
saying.
know that.
So you can confer with the village attorney after the meeting, and he could give you an answer to that, and it's confidential because it's, you okay?
Got P first.
That's fine.
Deal.
Okay, anything else to come before the committee?
So this has nothing to do with the council, but, so Nate, Bobby and I have been talking, about, I guess, our benefit package.
I'm not sure we can talk about that.
It is personnel.
The
Oh.
topic,
Oh, the top, oh, okay.
As far as
the topic for the meeting was
Council rules.
council rules.
did not get put out for this.
I don't think Bobby added that. I thought you were gonna talk to Bobby, but
I did, and I told her to.
I didn't think it was added.
Yeah, I don't think she
No.
added it, Matt.
Okay, well, then I'll bring it up at council. Well, I mean, I was fine with doing it at council in the first place.
Okay,
And just bring it here and
yeah, council's good.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna add it, but the notice that I
Yeah,
saw.
it did
was
not have
added.
that on, it just had council rules.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
Sorry. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
You made, she second.
Yeah.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Not hard.
Nay.
So it's in there,
So you
I'll
didn't
say
pick
aye.
You gotta say
Well,
aye.
it says in the thing, yes. When
Yeah.
you see our minutes, it
Yeah.
says yes, it doesn't say
Yeah.
A and A.
Now it says aye, aye and nay.
The
Tomorrow's
aye.